Welcome to the Shootin' Show. Stand by for shots fired.
Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome to today's program. You know, friends, we're beginning our 5th year of broadcasting nationally with the Shootin' Show. I tell you what, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but we're so thankful to be here. We're so thankful to be on the air. We want to extend our appreciation to all our gun club members and everyone who has helped on this project, because it's so important. What we're doing is showing the rest of America, in numbers now that are getting to be pretty big, that what we are as normal Americans who enjoy firearms, who believe that we have the right, even the duty, to protect our homes and ourselves with firearms. So anyway, friends, let's get another program underway. I think we have another great show for you. We have some features. We're going to finish a feature that we started on the last program that I think you will find interesting. And you know what's better than a Wesson 357 Magnum revolver? Well, how about 2 Wesson 357 Magnum revolvers? Well, let's get today's show underway.
Now, friends, here's a feature we started on our last program, and we're going to show it today in its entirety.
Now, friends, bear in mind that we do have a lot of new viewers, people that don't know very much about guns, and for those of you who are shooting enthusiasts, this will be old stuff to you, but occasionally we need to go back and bring some of the new shooters who were so appreciative. We're so glad to have you watching the program, but we're going to cover some real basics for you. There are a couple of basic types of revolvers. One is the single action revolver, and 2 is the double action revolver. So let's take a look at that right now.
Now, friends, this is a single action revolver. When I say single action, the trigger has one action. It just releases the hammer. You have to cock the hammer for each shot. They're typically loaded through this gate right here. You'll put a cartridge in. We already have some in the cylinder. And here's how they work to shoot the gun. And bear in mind, this is a Ruger Super Blackhawk with a transfer bar type safety. On the old style, the Colt, and other old style single action revolvers, they should be carried with 5 rounds in the cylinder with an empty chamber underneath that hammer. It's really important on the old style guns, but on the Rugers that have been made since 1973, they call it the new model, they're safe to be carried with 6 rounds in the cylinder there. Okay, to shoot a single action revolver, first of all, we'll cock the hammer and fire the gun. Again, every shot the hammer must be cocked like so and fired like so. Now then, to unload the gun, each spent cartridge has to be individually pushed out. Now, these guns are typically slower to load and unload, but they compensate for that by being extremely reliable and by and large very accurate. Now then, friends, we have a double action revolver here, and in this case, double action, the trigger will cock the hammer and release it. And of course, you also have the added capability of thumb cocking it and putting it in the single action mode. But you load the typical double action swing out cylinder revolver like so. You'll load 6 or so at a time like this, and the modern guns are safe with 6 rounds in the cylinder. But it can be fired one of 2 ways. You can cock the hammer and shoot like so, or simply just pull the trigger. And of course the gun fires. And it is a double action revolver. This is typically the best all-around handgun, my humble opinion anyway, is the double action revolver, because it will do so many things well, especially if you're a new shooter thinking about getting a handgun or whatever caliber it's in. This, of course, is our great Shootin' Show Wesson old number 3 here. In fact, and if you've ordered one of our guns, we're waiting on the shipment to come in from the factory, so bear with us. We just have a very few of these in existence at this time. Anyway, your typical operation of a double action revolver. The cylinder release will be back here, or in the case of this Wesson, up here on the crane. So very simple, but a very fine design.
And now let's look at some semi-automatics.
Now then, friends, of course, we have our Colt 1911 here, my old gun, and they're loaded, of course, with a magazine in the base of the gun. The way you make them work, you pull the slide all the way to the rear and let it go and let it load itself to apply the safety on this particular gun. This is a single action semi-automatic. The trigger does one function, and that is to release the hammer. Push our safety off here, shoot the gun, and of course reapply our safety. We have our grip safety here. This particular design is, although it makes some people nervous seeing the hammers cocked on these guns and safety on, they really are among the safest handguns ever made. This particular gun has a firing pin lock until the trigger's pulled. You have a safety, a thumb safety here, a grip safety. It also has, due to the disconnect, has an out of battery safety. So you have the, again, one of the safest mechanisms among handguns if it's in proper working order. Our next gun we're going to look at, this is a Smith & Wesson 4516, a typical double action semi-automatic. Now then, this particular gun we've already loaded. You have a safety here. When the safety is engaged, nothing will happen on the trigger there, but you have the dual function of the double action semi-automatic. When the safety is pushed off, the trigger will both cock and release the hammer for the first shot. Now then, let's go ahead and do that. Push our safety off and pull our trigger, and see it is cocking the hammer, and it will release it and fire the gun. Now then, being very careful where our muzzle is placed, see the trigger is in the rear position. The second shot is in the single action mode, and that action is just to release the hammer. Now then, what is extremely important to remember when you're through shooting this gun, you have got to apply the safety to decock it, because if you don't do that, they're dangerous. You have to remember to apply that safety to decock the gun. Very, very important. Now here's another gun type. This is the selective double action. You can carry this gun with the hammer down and the safety on position. So in this particular mechanism, it works like a double action semi-automatic, and you can push the safety off and pull the trigger, and it will cock the hammer and release it. And then your next shot after the first one, your trigger is in the rearward position, like so. All right, then this gun has the option, you can push the safety on, and then nothing will happen. The gun is in a safe condition. You can pull the trigger and nothing will happen. Or you have the option of depressing the safety down, and it safely decocks itself. Remember that finger off the trigger at all times when you're not going to shoot. You can push it down, and then the gun is in the ready to fire position when you pull the trigger, like you would on a revolver. And of course it's told us it's empty now. We'll go ahead and lower the slide. So you can decock the gun like so, safely, and then you can apply the safety. So they call this selective double action. You can select one action or the other. Friends, what you're looking at is one of the neatest discoveries we've made in some time on the program. This is a bottle of Black Canyon black powder replacement. And one of the things you miss with this is, since it has no sulfur in it, you don't have the mess that we normally associate with black powder shooting. It's more stable than black powder. It's a little safer to store and handle, and those of us who enjoy shooting these black powder firearms, you just don't have to spend all that extra time in cleaning, because there's just not much mess at all. You need some of this if you enjoy shooting and hunting with black powder. So give them a call, Black Canyon black powder replacement. Call them 800-622-8669. Again, 1-800-622-8669. Please tell them you saw it on the Shootin' Show. And this is a newer action type, a more recent action type. This is the Smith & Wesson Sigma, very similar to the Glock in the way it works. And this is called a double action only. And I'm not sure that's exactly correct, because what you have here is a striker that when the slide goes forward, it partially cocks the striker. So to bring the gun into action, you have to complete the cocking of the striker with the trigger here, and then the gun fires. But the advantage here is you have a medium strength trigger pull, and it's all the same. Now there are no external safeties. It operates like a revolver. What you have to do is just pull the trigger like so, and it goes to the same position each time. So these guns are much easier to learn to shoot well, say, than the average double action semi-automatic. This is, as I said earlier, a fairly recent action type, but it's becoming more and more widespread due to simplicity. You have a lot of people, and I understand now this is the #1 selling Smith & Wesson semi-automatic handgun. And because, especially among police, because of its simplicity, it is completely safe now. The battery is in the go position there, but the gun, if it was dropped or whatever else, it wouldn't go off. It'll only go off if that trigger's pulled. And there's nothing to remember, no safety to remember to take off or put on. So this is something that sort of a wave of the future there, possibly, in this particular action type. Now, friends, these are just some of the different types, so I think we've pretty well covered most of the types of handgun, different designs or working mechanisms here today. And you know, this is another reason that all of us need more than one handgun. The 1911 is one of the great defensive guns ever designed by anybody, one of the great police type or military type guns that's ever been made. But you wouldn't necessarily want to shoot at a deer at 100 yards with this gun. Whereas you could take this Super Blackhawk single action or this great double action Wesson here, and yeah, if you can hunt deer at 100 yards or further out with one of these fine guns. The single actions are a very simple and rugged and durable mechanism. They have, of course, a solid frame. They're very strong, and they do a lot of things really well. It would not be my first choice as a defensive type gun, one, because your 44 Magnum kicks and makes so much noise, but it certainly could be pressed into all kinds of service. Well, friends, regardless of which handgun type you would like to have, the key is getting some ammunition and going to shoot the gun and learn how to properly use it. You can normally, in the stocking dealer gun shops, you can normally find someone behind the counter who knows something about how these guns work and who would help you make a decision. If you are a lady looking for a handgun, well, honestly, I wouldn't recommend either one of these. I'd recommend a smaller 38 caliber or 357 caliber revolver. But it just depends on what you want and what you want to do with the gun. So we would highly recommend that, going down to a stocking dealer or going to a shooting range and talking to someone and get their advice, certainly. But all of these guns are very worthwhile and useful designs if we just take the time and expend the effort to learn how to properly use them and see how they function.
Don't go away. The Shootin' Show will be right back after these very important messages.
You know, friends, this box of Corbin ammunition and this Wesson 41 Magnum are in fact a perfect match for each other. But it doesn't matter whatever gun you may have, like this SKS or a hunting rifle or a 38 special or a 9mm, makes no difference, because Corbin is absolutely the best factory ammunition that money can buy, period. And also, friends, when you see a box of Corbin on the shelf or you give them a call, realize that Corbin is helping keep the Shootin' Show on the air. They've been one of our most dedicated sponsors. You cannot find finer people in the entire shooting industry. For information on Corbin ammunition, call them 1-800-626-7266. Again, 1-800-626-7266. Tell them you saw it on the Shootin' Show.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
This is the famous Thunder 5 revolver shooting the .45 Colt cartridge, also the .410 shotgun shell. It's also available in .45-70 and includes some caliber inserts that are optional. And let's get that snake. For information on the Thunder 5, call 1-800-654-0797. Again, that's 1-800-654-0797.
Well, friends, we hope you're enjoying our program today. We're certainly enjoying bringing it to you. For our commentary spot, you'll notice I'm sitting here by myself. The judge is sick today. He has a bad cold and a sore throat and felt like he'd be better off if he stayed in bed. And we do appreciate all your comments about this particular time on the program, because there's been so much interest politically. Thankfully, there is so much interest in what's going on, because this is what has to happen. We have to take an interest. We have to get involved. There's no question about that. We want to thank everyone who's joined our Shootin' Show Gun Club, because this is very important to our show. It helps us stay on the air. And we're planning, believe it or not, we're planning some of our fun gun dates. We're probably going to call them Gun Safety Awareness Days, and we're going to be doing these in some cities around the country. So when you hear about us coming locally, we'll be talking about it certainly on the program here. We want to meet everyone who can possibly get out and visit with us and see us. I think we're going to have a great time doing that. You know, speaking of television, one of the things we try and do that is I think paramount in our entire effort is tell you people the truth about these guns, firearms, whatever it may be. As we've often said on the program, we don't have a particular axe to grind about any type gun or any manufacturer. It makes no difference to us. We just want to tell you the truth about what works and what doesn't work. We also want to tell you the truth about what's going on nationally and how we as gun owners, how we as decent Americans need to get involved. This past week there's been a lot of controversy, or at least there's been a lot of attention cast on this recent CBS interview with Newt Gingrich's mother. And we here on the program think that was absolutely outrageous what the Connie Chung did. She got the lady to talk. She gave the lady the impression that it was going, in fact told her that it was not going to be between anyone else, just the two of them. And of course Ms. Gingrich told, and Newt may have said that. I mean, that's there are a lot of us who might question some of the motives of a lot of people in the White House, not just Hillary, but we think that this may be an example to show you folks of just how biased the liberal news media is about trying to hurt any effort whatsoever that the conservatives may try and do. And I think it's ridiculous. It's obvious that anything, if it were the situation were reversed, we had a liberal takeover in Congress, I don't think you'd see anything like that. And this is how biased they are. Well, what we want to be is we want you to think of us as honest television. Yes, and that in the past in many areas has been an oxymoron. Honest and television have not always gone together. In fact, even today, very rarely. But the Shootin' Show, I think, is something that we have imparted the feeling to you that you can count on us, because doggone it, we're going to tell you the truth. Well, friends, we have some great features coming up on the program, and hopefully the judge will be back next week. We wish him a very speedy recovery, and he really is in remarkable condition, so I think that he'll get over his malady with this cold, and certainly we'll be glad to have him back. Well, speaking of politics and entertainment and all this sort of thing, our video that we did last year that talked about so many different things, that from taxes to politicians throwing money away to just basic freedom. Well, why don't we play that now? We had a lot of fun doing that, and we're working on our next video even as we speak, and I hope you enjoyed as much as you did the one that we did this past year. So here's a song. I wrote this riding down the road one day on my motorcycle and just said, you know, a lot of things need to be worked on, and that's what I wrote this little piece about. So let's play our video down to you and me right now, just for fun, since we're here.
I'm proud to be an American, thank God our country's strong. But some time ago, you know what occurred to me? There's something going wrong. My granddad fought against tyranny so we could all be free. I'm afraid, my friends, his fight has passed down to you and me, down to you and me. We got people telling us what to do, don't even know our name. We're just a number on some little card, and I think that's a shame. If George and Abe could see us now, bet they'd both agree this is not exactly what they had in mind. The land of liberty, sweet land of liberty. Oh, I love to hear my Harley run. I like being free to live out my dreams, and I want to have a little fun. I want to hold on to what we've got, from sea to shining sea. I'm afraid, my friend, the fight has passed down to you and me. Oh, down to you and me. We got politicians and bureaucrats all telling us what to do. And they don't seem at all concerned about what they put us through. They tax and spend like there's no end, throw it all away. Just keep in mind there'll come a time when nobody's left to pay. Oh, nobody's left to pay. There's people that wanna lock us up just to keep us away from harm. They want a police state to give us orders, but they can get us unarmed. There's folks that say they know the truth, well, they saw it on TV. We got some boys on Capitol Hill, don't wanna have us free. No, they don't wanna have us free. My Harley run. I like being free to live out my dreams, and I wanna have a little fun. I wanna hold on to what we've got, from sea to shining sea. I'm afraid, my friends, the fight is past down to you and me. Well, down to you and me.
Friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Shotgun News, Post Office Box 669, Hastings, Nebraska, the zip code 68902, their phone number, area 402-463-4589, MasterCard or Visa for subscriptions only. Now call them at 1-800-345-6923.
In the 21 years between the world wars, many nations devoted a great deal of effort to new machine gun designs. Their hope was to have a machine gun that would be more mobile than the water-cooled and yet give up as few of its advantages as possible. I do not want to cover the history of weapons development during those 21 years. Instead, I'll compare 2 designs, the MG34 and the BAR. I'll cover the characteristics which resulted from their design and then show how each army incorporated that weapon into its tactical organization and doctrine. According to this chart, one would say that the MG34, with its higher volume of fire, is obviously the superior weapon. Well, I'm not so sure. Let's take a look. This is the German MG34. It weighs 26.5 pounds and can be carried by 1 man. It feeds from this metallic, non-disintegrating belt. This belt must be recovered by the crew and reloaded with ammunition after use. Unlike the Maxim and Browning cloth belts, these belts lay on top of the cartridges in the feedway. The bolt drives the cartridge forward, down, and out of the belt into the chamber. The weapon operates on the short recoil principle, which you have seen before. It does not have water cooling, so it employs two other things in order to dissipate the heat generated by sustained fire. First, it fires from the open bolt so that when the weapon is not actually firing, air can circulate through the barrel. Secondly, it has a quick change barrel. When a barrel becomes overheated, it need only be exchanged for a cool one. The MG34 and BAR will make the same target run. When displacing between engagements, 3 surprise targets will appear at 50 yards.
More and more often, women are faced with protecting themselves and their homes. But another way of protection is through information. Information found in the New American Magazine. And we at the Shootin' Show believe that the New American Magazine has the best information that you can possibly get.
You can get the New American by calling 1-800-727-TRUE. And those numbers, of course, are 1-800-727-8783. The New American, $22 for a 6-month subscription. It comes twice a month. Friends, you need this magazine if you want to know what's going on. And in times like this, we need both of these. We need our guns, and we darn sure need our information. The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Tri-tote's real easy to use because all you have is a hook on your waist and you have another hook on a strap. Okay, so all you're doing is you're hanging your gun up like you would on a peg gun rack. There is never anything attached to your equipment when you use a tri-tote. Okay, you just set the gun with one hook behind the trigger guard and the other hook on the barrel. To use it, you just push in on towards your chest, pick the gun up to shoot it. Basically, you got 7 different positions anywhere you want to range the barrel of the gun by just taking it off. It's a piece of Velcro strap onto a Velcro shoulder pad. You just put the gun into it, pick it up and shoot it any way you want. I know a lot of people like to walk around with their gun over their wrist. In this position, tucked up under your arm, it's real comfortable, except it breaks your wrist. Set the gun with the hook in front of the trigger guard, and you got the same position, except your hands free always. And what you want to do is you can take your trigger finger right at the trigger guard, pick the gun right up off the pod, and then you got it ready to shoot. Okay? The other position that you have is when you set the butt of the gun right on the hook on the side, and you can just hold your gun for field shooting in this manner, or you can just rest it back on your shoulder, shrug your shoulder, hit the gun, catch it, and the gun comes up. It's that simple to use. A lot of people like to go out riding on their four-wheeler and their ATV or climb into their deer stand or drag their deer. You got a securing strap that just peels back. All you do is set it on the barrel of the gun, wrap the barrel up, and you have a little securing loop down here on the pod. Okay? You take that and you secure that right over the hook of the gun, so you're securing the top and the bottom. You can ride your four-wheeler, you can climb your tree stand in this manner. If you'd like to pull out your deer, you can open your waist belt up, drop your right hand down through your straps, bring your left hand back up through it. The gun immediately goes on your back. Buckle it up. Take away any of that slack. You don't want that. Just readjust it. Pull it up tight on your back, and that's the most secure back carry you'll ever have. You can drag your deer out any way you want to drag your deer out. Climb your hands, use your binoculars. You're always hands-free with the tri-tote.
Now then, friends, for information or to order one of the all-season tri-totes, call them at 1-800-231-1443. MasterCard or Visa, $38.50 plus $6.50 shipping and handling. This is a special price for our Shootin' Show audience, so please identify to them that it is, you did see it on the Shootin' Show. This is an excellent piece of equipment a lot of us would like to have, friends. 1-800-231-1443.
Some disadvantages of the MG34 become immediately apparent. Though the weapon can be carried by one man, it is not single-man portable. That high volume of fire is predicated upon the quick-change barrel for dissipation of heat. There has to be an assistant gunner for carrying spare barrels in the spare parts kit. At the volume of fire shown on the chart, the crew has to change the barrel once every minute. Since it consumes more ammunition, an ammo bearer is needed. It takes a while for the crew to get the weapon into and out of position. You saw the confusion as the emergency targets were initially engaged by the assistant gunner with his rifle. He knew the machine gun simply couldn't open fire in time. Since our targets don't actually kill people, the crew then went ahead and engaged them with the MG34. This weapon can be fired in an emergency, as you see in this photograph. I'm not so sure, however, that I would like to be the assistant gunner who carries it over my shoulder while the gunner behind me blazes away. The MG34 was difficult to control. You should have noticed that it had a large beaten zone. The extremely high cyclic rate, over 800 rounds per minute, does not help this. Since it is a short recoil weapon, nearly 1/3 the weight of the weapon is moving after every shot, making it even more difficult to control and recoil. However, this is what the German wanted, for in the squad he saw the MG34 as an area suppression weapon. Another disadvantage of its high cyclic rate is that the part velocity is higher. If the bolt has to travel backward and forward 800 times per minute rather than, say, 500 times per minute, then the bolt's acceleration and deceleration at the beginning of each forward and back motion is that much more violent and abrupt. This breaks parts and places a premium on clean, high-quality ammunition. Partway through engaging the first set of targets, the MG34 extractor tore through a cartridge case. The crew had to change barrels in order to continue. Normally, one of the assistant gunners would have used the toolkit to clear that barrel. Otherwise, the barrels were changed only when overheated. Wherever possible, the Germans set up the machine gun on the tripod. This helped stabilize the weapon and gave it a smaller beaten zone. Further, its traversing and elevating mechanism aided in the adjustment of long-range fire. The tripod was a heavy, clumsy affair, but it was always carried with the machine gun. You do not see German combat photography of the MG34 without a tripod or an observer with binoculars to assist in the adjustment of long-range fire. This is the proper way to employ a crew-served weapon. The gunner adjusts sights, aims, and fires the weapon, and the assistant gunner keeps it working. Somebody else must spot the fall of the rounds. Without this, the effective range of the machine gun is no more than 1,000 yards. Secondly, you will never see German soldiers carrying belts of machine gun ammunition festooned across their chests like the Frito Bandito. They always carried their ammunition in the can and fed it directly from the can into the machine gun. This kept the ammo clean and the belts free of rust and was essential for reliable operation. The MG34 pays a price for its volume of fire. With its spare barrels and tripod, it weighs roughly 3/4 what a water-cooled machine gun weighed. It is slow to place in position. It still takes a 4-man crew to carry it and extract from it its potential volume of fire and combat range. To a German, none of this was a disadvantage. His tactical organization was based on this machine gun. This is the breakdown of the German squad. It is plain that the German squad was designed for fire and movement. The machine gun would lay down a base of fire. While it was suppressing the enemy, the remainder of the squad would maneuver about, and when the range was proper, they would go in with grenades, rifle fire, and the bayonet. This is the system that took Ibn Imal and Paris and got to the banks of the Volga River. The Browning automatic rifle of World War II was a beefed up and bipod-equipped version of the BAR of World War I. The BAR weighs 18 pounds with its bipod and feeds from a 20-round, detachable, staggered, double-column box magazine. It does not have a quick-change barrel, though it does fire from the open bolt in order to help cool the weapon. It is equipped with a bipod to help stabilize the weapon during automatic fire from the prone position. The selector switch gave 2 different cyclic rates of fire, 500 rounds per minute and 350 rounds per minute, both of them fully automatic. Let's see what the BAR can do with the same target array that you saw before. It is quite obvious that the BAR does not have the sustained volume of fire of the MG34. However, a couple of other things are equally obvious. The BAR can truly be carried and operated by one man. The weapon can be put in action as fast as any individual infantryman's rifle. It is certainly as accurate as the MG34 when fired from the bipod. Its lower cyclic rate of fire and a few other characteristics reduce movement of the weapon during firing, and the beaten zone is relatively small. On a suppression target, the BAR was slightly less capable. A well-trained gunner could still put rounds in the target area and still kill or suppress the individuals there. However, he only had 20 rounds to do the job, and there was a distinct break in firing for changing magazines. Because it is a fixed barrel weapon, the volume of fire must be voluntarily held down. The weapon can be fired at more than 80 rounds per minute, but if it is, the barrel will rapidly overheat. Severe overheating burns out the barrel and may even warp the receiver. All of these disadvantages made little difference. The American squad was not primarily organized around the BAR. It was in the squad in order to beef up the squad's overall volume of fire. If the squad wanted to, it could of course use the BAR as a suppression weapon and maneuver about it. But the BAR was never really intended to operate separately from the remaining members of the squad, and never intended as a general purpose weapon. At platoon, company, and battalion level, other machine guns, the Browning air-cooled, the Browning water-cooled, and the Browning 50 caliber heavy barrel, were present in order to fill the suppression role or the base of fire role. When the American squad did maneuver against the enemy under the covering fire of platoon or company level machine guns, then the squad's semi-automatic Garand rifles and the BAR gave them a great advantage over a German squad. Not only was the squad's volume of fire much higher, but if the maneuvering squad was caught in a position where they needed long-range automatic fire, they still had a weapon that could get the job done. Each weapon, the BAR and the MG34, had its own very unique set of characteristics, advantages, and disadvantages. Each weapon, when woven into the tactical organization and when coupled with the fire of other weapons, contributed to the success of their respective armies. Which is better? Neither. The intelligent leader used these weapons in concert with his other weapons in order to make an unbeatable team. The design trade-offs which you saw here are not unlike the design trade-offs in weapons which you use today. The basic concepts for the use of these weapons have not changed. The German soldier properly employed his MG34 during World War II, and the American properly employed his BAR. We expect the same of you today.
Stay tuned for more of The Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station. Friends, you can communicate with the Shootin' Show on CompuServe now. Our number is 735-4233. 735-423-3024. Again, 735-423-3024. And to join our Shootin' Show Gun Club, call us at 1-800-895-7916. We take Visa, MasterCard, check, money order, whatever you got. Join today, friends. We need to reach as many people as we can.
Hello, friends. I'm out here practicing for one of the most fun hunting sports that you can imagine. You can use a variety of action types. You have access to year-round hunting, some cases no limits, and you get to use a variety of guns. Well, you know what I'm talking about is a sport of varmint hunting. And we need to introduce you folks to varmint hunting. A lot of us have been doing it for years and didn't know what to call it, but we especially need to introduce you to the Varmint Hunter magazine.
You know, friends, varmint hunting is one of the fastest growing shooting sports in the world. In fact, the Varmint Hunters Association, they have members in all 50 states and 19 foreign countries. Now, their magazine focuses on varmint hunting and super accurate reloading and shooting techniques. Plus, there's a lot of humor, a lot of interesting cartoons and humorous articles in the magazine. Incidentally, the magazine is large, it's very high quality, and something I think you're really going to enjoy reading, and it's published quarterly. It's only $24 for an associate membership in the Varmint Hunters Association. And look, for information, now you ought to do this. If you're a dedicated shooter, this is something I think you're really going to enjoy. For information on the Varmint Hunter magazine and the Varmint Hunters Association, call them at 1-800-528-4868. Again, 1-800-528-4868. Be sure and tell them you saw it on the Shootin' Show.
Well, friends, a little handgun we're going to look at today, and someone asked why they saw as many handguns on our program as we do feature. Well, there's a tremendous amount of interest in handguns, and realize we have a lot of people who are wondering what they need or how they need to go about defending themselves in today's society. And this is something that we think is very, very important. As we have more and more women watching this program, this little gun we have today is a Taurus Model 85, and it has the spurless hammer. Now, it's not hammerless, it has a hammer, but it doesn't have the cocking spur that we normally associate with the hammer on a revolver. This is a very nicely made little gun. In fact, to give you an idea of the size, this is the Taurus 9mm compact model, the PT908, and it's quite a bit smaller than their compact 9mm. It's a little bit, with the grip here, it's roughly the same size as the Model 60 Smith & Wesson or some of the other small 5-shot revolvers. In fact, the speed loaders for the Chief Special will also fit this Taurus Model 85. It is a very nicely finished gun. This gun is in stainless steel. And of course, one of the neat things about Taurus revolvers is we've had them on the program before. They give you a very good level of quality at an affordable price. And years ago, a lot of us didn't think too much of firearms that were made in some other countries. And a lot of us didn't think too much of firearms that were made in South America. Well, let me tell you what, they have really brought their quality up to a very, very remarkable level. And in fact, the Taurus is, as far as what we're seeing of the typical quality level on a Taurus, is about as good as most of the other things you're going to find made here in America or anywhere else in the world. They have built quite a reputation on reliability and also on factory service. In past years, Taurus has had what they termed a lifetime guarantee. If something happened to your gun, as long as you own it, they would fix it. And honestly, I would imagine they still have that guarantee. To tell you the truth, I don't know, but I know that's something they have advertised in the past. This is a very nice package. Now, you might say, well, why would someone want, and yes, we know this gun, and I've checked it several times already, we know it's unloaded. You say, well, why would someone want a revolver that didn't have a way to thumb cock it? Well, I tell you what, here's a tremendous reason right here. One, you're not going to be able to get it in the single action mode because it just won't stay there. But two, this is a tremendous backup gun or hideout gun or a gun for a lady's purse, because you can pull it out. There's nothing to snag anywhere in clothing or in a purse or anywhere else. It's very smooth. And I tell you what, friends, I have heard of this happening, and A few times I've had it happen to myself, have a handgun in a coat pocket or something out here on the farm and need to shoot at some sort of varmint or something and then have the hammer hang here on the way out. Well, this is a really good feature. Smith & Wesson makes a gun with a similar profile. It's not the same situation. You have an enclosed hammer on the Smith & Wesson. And Ruger also makes the SP-101 with a spurless hammer, which is very reminiscent of this. Tremendous idea, because this little gun is, although some of the little 38 specials will really surprise you as far as the accuracy they can have, we're not talking about a target gun. We're talking about an up-close and personal defensive type gun. And I just think this is a superior idea. It has very nice grips, and we'll look at that in just a moment. But in talking about the grips, they're conducive to a lack of recoil, from what I've seen anyway. Now, let me caution you about something. We're shooting today standard velocity 38 special loads. Now, that's what the recommendation in the owner's manual is for this gun. A lot of us out there, and it certainly appears to be a well-made and strong little gun, but some of us might buy a gun like this, get a couple of boxes of plus P ammunition, and the plus P does mean higher pressure. And the original 38 special is not a very high pressure cartridge, but the plus P's take it on up several notches as far as pressure goes, and there's no point in beating a little gun like this into being loose or into a malfunction. Now, it would, I'm sure, would stand a tremendous number of whatever factory 38 specials are out there, but it would certainly accelerate wear and tear on the gun, and there's just no need in it. And they're not going to be pleasant to shoot with plus P ammunition anyway. What I would probably do for a defensive handgun, if this were my gun and I was going to carry it for defense, I would practice with standard velocity 38 specials, anything from the military Winchester loading we have today, which is a very mild load, 130 grain bullet, to wad cutters or just target type ammunition. I wouldn't practice. I would certainly want to practice and learn to shoot the gun and learn where it hits. Now, I would probably carry it with something a little more powerful. And of course, the tremendous carbine load for the 38 special really brings the 38 special, in fact, up to the level of a good 9mm. So the 9's a little stouter, I think, than people have realized in the past, certainly with some of the loadings that are available now. But again, there's just no point in beating a little gun up when it's not a need in it. Another good feature, if you learn to shoot the gun with standard velocity ammunition, even if that's what you carried, you know, a hit with a standard velocity 38 is a lot better than a miss with a 44 Magnum or whatever else. Being able to accurately place your shots with a defensive gun that you have a lot of confidence in is no small thing. That's something that we really ought to consider. Well, you can see with standard velocity 38 special ammunition, you can see that it just doesn't have much recoil at all. It can be rapid fired very easily. The gun has functioned extremely well in the short time we've had it, but that's what we expect. Somebody wrote in last week, or from last week's program, and asked, because I made a statement last week that I figured we were going to get some flack over. I said that revolvers are about 10 times as reliable as semi-automatic pistols. Well, honestly, in all our experience, and I'm lumping a lot of automatics together, and certainly a good many revolvers together, but from everything that we have seen and heard about and read about and experienced over the years, a lot of people keep semi-automatics at home in a drawer, maybe fired once, maybe fired again 5 years later. It may or may not work. Well, you can probably get away with that with a decent quality revolver. You can go out, shoot it one time, put it back in the drawer and forget about it, although that's not what we recommend. Now, you know me, and all of us associated with this program want to get our viewers out on the range and learn how to properly use their firearm.
Friends, we've run out of time on this week's program for this feature, and we'll come back to it on our next program. Incidentally, if you would like to advertise on the Shootin' Show, you can call us at 1-800-SAVE-YOU-GUN. That's 1-800-728-8486. Our staff will be very happy to talk to you. You know, friends, it's rare in any field of manufacture that one particular company has a clear-cut advantage over the others. Well, in this case, it's Carbine Ammunition, Carbine Bullet Company, because they make the best handgun, long gun, and even some specialty caliber ammunition that's been real hard to get in the past. If you really want your handgun or rifle to perform at their absolute best, you need to find some Corbin ammunition. For information on where you can get Corbin, information on their product line, call them. Corbin Bullet Company, 1-800-626-7266. Again, give them a call. It's a free call, 1-800-626-7266. Trust me on this one. Corbin is the best there is. Well, friends, it's happened again. We've run out of time for today's program. From Kurt, the judge, myself, we want to thank everyone for being with us for today's program, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Shootin' Show.